Why was I still muted? Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see, for the time being, it's just myself. Con will join us very soon. VJ should be joining us, but I haven't heard from him yet, so I don't know if he will join us. And there we are. Con is here already. My guy, I'm over the moon. I know we were shit, but I just put it in the chat. We are so shit at the moment. Beggars can't be choosers. We need to take any win we can take, right? So I'll take it. I'll take it. We won a game from a losing position. Last time we did that was Boxing Day 2021. Mental. And we finally didn't get screwed by VAR at the end, even though obviously first the ref did screw us early in the game. But at the end of the day, Havertz shutting up the haters. Chilwell, changing the game completely from wingback. After yesterday, I was saying, no, he's nowhere near ready to play Premier League. Making me look like a right mug. But, I'm very happy. Not sure what this formation and system and whole performance was, especially the first half. But at the end of the day, we won. And that's what I'm happy about. We beat West Ham. They're in the muds. And I'm happy. Con, thank you for joining me, as always, bro. Bloody hell. That what drama at the end. What drama at the end. But happy that we won or more disappointed about the performance?
Laurenz, when have you ever known me to come on the stream after a game when we win, where I'm not on cloud nine, bro? Of course I'm happy. I'm over the moon, bro. Over the moon. I hate West Ham probably more than any other club in this league, bro. It's just because where I grew up, everybody I knew was a West Ham fan, I came from a Chelsea family, so I didn't really have a choice. I hate West Ham so much, bro. And to see him lose it like that, where, it was a foul. He did foul Mendy. As soft as it may be, in this modern day, you just can't touch a goalkeeper. It's as simple as that. You just can't touch a goalkeeper. And, Antonio, whatever he was trying to do to Thiago Silva, I don't know what he was trying to do there, bro. My guy thought he was playing NFL or something. He just had him in a headlock and everything.
Not even, was it not a straight red? Which it could certainly be, in my opinion. You can't just...
it's madness,
bro. You can't just headlock a fucking player in the middle of a football game. But he was booked already. And we saw the replay. The ref was looking right at it. How do you not book him?
No idea, bro. I think if he didn't yellow card Antonio 5 minutes before, I think he yellow cards him there. But the fact he just yellow carded him before, I don't think he wanted to send him off. I think that's what probably happened. But bro, Chilwell, I forgot he was this good. I knew it was gonna take him some time to get up to speed. I was in the same camp as you, bro, where I didn't think he was ready yet, but he comes on, bro. He has a purpose to his play. That's what I love about him, bro. He isn't the best technically, probably isn't the best defensively, But overall, bro, he's just a player with purpose, and he's on a mission. That first goal, Thiago Silva, that Ben Chilwell sort of controls it with his head, Fabianski's legs, and then Broja, a little round the corner to Chilwell, actually puts in a good delivery. Kai Havertz, what a finish that is, by the way. People say it's a tap-in. That's far from a tap-in. That's a beautiful finish. But he changed the game, Ben Chilwell, bro. I'm so happy. Absolutely. Laurenz, I'm happy, bro. I'm happy.
Absolutely, bro. I am happy as well. I think... Before we get into player ratings, let's have a discussion about this. You say it was a foul by West Ham. A lot of the people in the chat are seemingly disagreeing with you. They're Chelsea fans, so they said they take it, but they disagree that it was a foul. Now, what I will say is, I was surprised that VAR overturned it. Let's say that. So I think it's a 50-50 where you can let it go and let the goal stand, and you can call it off for a foul. But usually, how VAR works with only clear and obvious errors, that's when they overturn a decision. I'm not quite sure if it was enough of a mistake to overturn it. But at the end of the day, I'll take it. And I mean, we just spoke about how we were literally robbed by the ref before that. Antonio should have been sent off. And then it was a foul by Antonio on Loftus-Cheek, which the ref didn't give, in which process they won their first corner, from which third corner they scored the equalizer, right? So, we were... triple mugged off by the ref in the first place. No idea what Fofana is doing on that first corner clearance when he just clears it out for another corner when he was clearly trying to punt it long, but he just messed it up. And then we'll talk about that in a second as well, with whatever that calamity was with Mendy and Fofana and one other defender that was on the line, just clashing into each other. I'm like, what are we doing? But do you want to elaborate on why you're so confident that it is a foul? Because obviously Reece James' header backwards was intercepted by, was it Bowen? I think it was Bowen. He gets a touch. Then Mendy saves it. I'm not sure why Mendy doesn't try to catch it, because there wasn't exactly a lot of power on it, so I'm a little bit confused by that. But anyway, so he lets it bounce, and then Bowen kind of hits, he does hit him, maybe with his right leg, also potentially steps on him. I'm not sure on that one. The most confused I am, about why Mendy screamed so much. Because in my opinion, he screamed in pain too quickly for it to be fake, right? Maybe he's much smarter than I give him credit for, but I think that's expecting a lot from anyone if he's only faking it to make more out of it. I think he did that too quickly after the contact. You know what I mean? Before he even knew that the ball was going in after, by the way. So, like I say, I think you can certainly give it as a foul and rule out the goal. But I'm surprised that VAR overturned it. How would you explain it, Con?
I kind of disagree there because I think it's a clear and obvious error because he impedes the goalkeeper. And as soon as you do that, it's a foul. It's a foul, you know. I think he stud catched his knuckle. And I don't know if any of you's ever done any sort of like martial arts or boxing or kickboxing, anything like that, right? But knuckle pain can, it can be horrible, you know. And yeah, I think that's how he caught him. We caught him with the studs. But he impeded the goalkeeper where he wasn't able to, that way he was down. It's a clear foul. And the thing is, try to reverse it. Imagine if Bowen got that first touch and Mendy just caught him a little bit with his hand. Everybody screams penalty. It's the same thing. It looks soft. That's why people say it's a foul.
I agree with completely. But if it goes the other way around, I would be absolutely livid for them ruling out that goal.
No, I wouldn't though. See, I'd have the same energy. I'll be annoyed. But I'll be like, oh, for God's sake, we can never catch a break. But I wouldn't say it was a robbery because it is a foul. You can't impede a goalkeeper in this modern day. If you look, I think if you actually go into the letter of the law by the FA, you will see that yourself. So as soft as it may look, that's the rules. And how many times especially with handballs, Laurenz, I feel like we've had so many conversations about the handball rule, and even though it seems so stupid, it's the letter of the law at the time, just as that is. So it might look soft, but a foul's a foul, and VAR did a good job. And the fact the referee also said, you know what, that's a foul. It shows that's the instructed to do. So it's a lot easier to not give that goal it's a lot easier to give that goal than not give it. So the fact they didn't give it, it shows that that's letter of the law. And it looks soft, but it is what it is.
Yeah, fair enough. I can't fully disagree with you. I don't even disagree with you. Like I say, because what I would say in Bowen's favor is that I don't think he can do much about it. And therefore, and also Mendy, even if he doesn't get contact, does he still have it stop that goal? No, he has nothing, he can't, right, from that point onwards. So that's why I'm like, it's harsh, if you get what I mean, because Bowen couldn't stop it. He's in full sprint. He tried to jump over him, didn't quite manage, hit him. Mendy's down, but he wouldn't have stopped the goal anyway. But then they called him. Do you know what I mean?
I get what you're saying, bro. It is harsh, but at the same time, that's just because of the law in football's harsh.
Yeah, sure. I mean, how many times have we been screwed over this season? I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, we were so lucky to get these others in the bin, because against Spurs, against Leeds, against all these teams, we were like, what are these refs doing, man? Even against Leicester,
a great example. I know it's a different situation, but do you remember Alonso's goal versus Real Madrid last season? Incredibly harsh not to give that goal, but the letter of the law says that's not okay. That's it can't stand. It's the same with that. It looks incredibly harsh and soft, but it's just the letter of the law, and that's more of a problem with the football sort of laws itself than it is the referee, because the referee can only go by what he's trained to do.
Fair play. Before we get into more actual player ratings, let's talk about the game a little bit more overall, because especially the first half, we just didn't do anything. I mean, we didn't do anything in the second half either until Chilwell came on, if we're honest with each other. What are we doing? I'm a little bit confused. We started, I'll get the lineup up now. We started with a 3-5-2, two strikers that are 5'7" or 5'6", or however tall Sterling and Pulisic are. Which I'm like, okay, we're trying something different. Fair enough. But from the way we played, it seemed like we were trying to get in behind. But West Ham come to Stamford Bridge and they always park the bus. I'm like, did Tuchel not expect them to park the bus? Because when your opponent is parking the bus, you're not going to have space to run it behind. And then you're going to be forced to cross. And then if you have two really short strikers, how are you ever going to score? Right? And in my opinion, that's basically what we saw in the first half. And basically until Broja came on, even though Broja didn't really get on the end of any crosses, because what we usually do, remember when we had, when we played, who was it? There was seasons under Conte's second season, when every now and again we all of a sudden played Hazard as a false nine. Then we bring, and we cross, never do anything. Then we bring Giroud on and we stop crossing immediately. Like what? And I think on the Lampard, we had something like that going on as well for a little while. As soon as we brought Giroud on, someone that's actually good in the air, we stopped crossing. Now, Broja might not be the best in the air, actually, even though he's got some height to him. But still, it's a weird that we stopped crossing again. Well, Sterling's crosses, but not the real, like, striker-type crosses. Do you know what I mean? But what did you make of the performance overall? Do you think Thomas Tuchel just tried to bring some defensive stability back into the team? Is that what mostly happened today? And he was almost willing to sacrifice any attacking prowess? But the thing is, we don't have any attacking prowess no matter what we do anyway. But we were defensively solid until we all of a sudden started giving 3 corners away after the referee screwed us, and then obviously Reece James had a stinker. But otherwise, they hit the post as well. But basically, until they scored the first goal, they were nowhere near our goal ever, right? So we were defensively solid. Do you think that's what he was trying to do, or do you just think Tuchel got that wrong?
No, I think firstly, yeah, because he said how easy we were to beat. So I think he went back to basics to make sure we was defensively solid. I do agree with that. I also think that, the forwards he's been playing, Mount and Kai, they haven't been good as of late this season. So he swapped those around.
That's okay, but why not for Broja, like a real striker? We decided to play 2 wingers as strikers.
When I saw the lineup, bro, that's the first thought I thought was, so we're not going to put Bro, because we all know what's going to happen against West Ham at Stamford Bridge, bro. They do it every time. They do it against every team they've played this season in the league period anyway. So you'd think you'd put Bro, like, he's 6'2", I think. He's physical. He'll be in and around the box. He can get balls in, especially with, like, how much was forced it to Reece James. But luckily, he made some good subs in the second half. I think that's what won us the game. Really good from him.
Absolutely. And I mean, I was thinking about it, and I saw someone tweet about it as well, that Cucurella actually didn't have a bad game, but he just didn't get himself involved in attack enough. As soon as Chilwell comes on, he gets himself involved in attack, gets a goal, gets the assist, and I'm like, either Cucurella needs to just improve on that, or that's just not his side of the game. I don't know, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But it certainly changed something. But let's get to Mendy. Let's start with those player ratings, because and Vijay, unfortunately, seemed to have some sort of drama going on in his life, unfortunately. So that's why he couldn't watch the game and isn't here now. Maybe we'll see Felix come on later. I'll have to wait and see. But it might just be myself and Con, so you'll have a great time with us. But let's start with Mendy. Do you, regardless of that we've now come to the conclusion that you think it was a foul, and I probably agree with you that it was a foul and fairly ruled out, do you still think that he should have caught it rather than bounce it out?
Yes. Yeah. 100%. He doesn't catch anything these days.
No, he really doesn't. And do you think on the first goal he can do much better?
Yeah.
Because on the first one, I'm not sure, because to me, it's more Fofana and whoever the other Chelsea player was that was also on the line stood in his way. And then he had no other option other than to slightly palm it because he couldn't get any more contact on it because there was his own players stood in the way. Do you see that to an extent?
No, I hear it. No, that is fair. How tall is Mendy? He's like 6'5", right?
I think so. 6'4", 6'5", yeah, something like that.
Like, I don't see Thibaut Courtois getting bullied. Like, he's so commanding. And like, Mendy was that at Chelsea at one point. He was so commanding. And now anytime a cross goes into the box, it's the same feeling I get with Kepa. I'm going to be real. And he just flaps it a lot. So, yeah, no, I wasn't happy with him for that goal. I can't. I know players in his way, but you're a big guy. Be more commanding.
No,
Command your penalty box.
I agree with you still, yeah. But what rating would you give him then? Because obviously the last mistake, as we call it, in terms of that he should have held on to it, didn't really lead to anything because VAR ruled it out anyway. So I'm not really sure whether we should hold that against him at all, because for our heart rate, obviously it was bad. But for the actual goal line, scoreline, it didn't change anything, right? So I'm not sure if we should really. I guess because that happened before the foul happened, so we still kind of should probably criticize him for it and maybe rate him by it. But obviously, in the end, at least it didn't cost us a goal, so we shouldn't be quite as harsh as if it did, I guess. I'm going to give him. Because did he have to make any other saves? I can't remember any.
The Bowen one.
3 chances, right?
The Bowen one from the corner, innit? So he punched it out and then Bowen hit on the volley. And that was an easy save to make, so let's not try to guess that up. Let's be real.
Exactly. So I'm anywhere between a 4 and a 5, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
I'll give him a 4.5.
My head was at the same place, bro. Same place.
There you go. Fair play. Well, it's I'll ask you this question now because we haven't had you on that regularly in recent weeks. And we've had a lot of discussions in terms of should Mendy potentially be dropped for Kepa? Should Kepa be given a chance? Just because I don't think personally that Mendy is all of a sudden just really bad. I think what we're seeing now is not the real Mendy either. I think what we saw in his start to his Chelsea career wasn't the real Mendy. That was overperforming. And what we're seeing now is underperforming. I don't think either is the real Mendy. I think the real Mendy is somewhere in between. But because he's still in somewhat struggling form right now, whether it's with the ball at his feet, whether it's not holding on to balls, whether it's being tall as hell, but still not being particularly commanding of his box whatsoever for set pieces. Do you think it's time that Kepa gets a game on Tuesday against Zagreb?
It'd be a lot easier if Kepa weren't so bad, bro. I'll be real.
But now you say that, bro. Think back. Obviously, Kepa hasn't had a lot of games over the last year.
But he has been solid, yeah.
But when he did play, he was good. When Mendy was at the African Cup of Nations, Kepa never did anything wrong.
That's true. No, that's true. That is true. But then again, we were a lot more, the team itself.
Overall, yeah, that is true.
Yeah, so no, at this point, yeah, no, I think you have to give Mendy a game off for his sake more than anybody's. And I don't think I think Mendy's made some sort of mistake in nearly every game we played this season. So I can't imagine Kepa doing so much worse. And it's a game we should quite easily win as well. So put Kepa in goal, yeah. I think he deserves it as well. Because what's the point of him still being here on them big wages if you're never going to play him? Especially when you're first choice.
He's managing the sidelines. Did you see when Havertz was coming on? Kepa was giving him all sorts of instructions. I found quite funny how Kepa is the guy giving instructions. But sure, I mean, Kai scored, so whatever Kepa said worked. So fair play. Tuchel actually said post-game that Mendy may not be fit for the Champions League on Tuesday. Again, I'm a little bit confused how that got him injured because there was contact, sure, but it wasn't like hard contact. So I'm a little bit confused by that. Unless he had a previous injury on his arm potentially from training or whatever, and that made it worse. I don't know. But maybe because of that, we'll see Kepa regardless, I suppose. But let's get to that back three, who, until we conceded that 1-0 at the time, was actually doing fantastically well. Like, all three of them, with obviously... Koulibaly and Fofana both had moments I'm like, we could have done a bit better there. But in the grand scheme of things, West Ham had zero attacking. Now, partly because they didn't try, because they only passed the bars, but partly also because we defended really well. But it's difficult to really put it into words. We'll keep Fofana making his debut today to last of the three. Let's start with Koulibaly. What do you make of his performance?
Defensively, I think he was all right. Good. Progressing the ball, he was okay at times. Sometimes over hit a few passes, but he didn't do anything that annoyed me today. I thought it was pretty solid all round, to be honest. Like 6.5, 7 around that mark.
Yeah, I was going to go 7 as well because, I know we conceded, but I think when it comes to set pieces, then it's almost like it's almost like a different discipline of defending. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Because it's just like they had one corner, then Fofana messes up the clearance, they have another corner. Then Mendy clears it, Bowen hits a volley that no player in our whole team would even attempt in that moment. Mendy obviously has to save it, saves it for another corner. Yeah. And then we concede from the most silly thing that happens in the box, and you're like, but do I want to be harsh on any individual that, except potentially Mendy, for not pushing it away hard enough? That's why I would probably agree with you on the 7 for Koulibaly.
Do you know we give sorry, Laurenz. Do you know we give 2 cool ratings today, these streams now? Can we give Anthony Barry 1? Because
because it just get a 0.
Bro, no, I think he'll be the first one to get a -10, bro. Because Chelsea set pieces, what's going on this season?
Honestly, awful. Yeah. Poor. Because today, and we will get to that when we get to Gallagher. Gallagher took a lot of our corners, and when I first saw him step up for one, I was like, "Why is Gallagher taking the corners?" But actually, his corners weren't bad. We just never got on the end of it. But he still put them in the right area with a lot of pace, with a lot of power. So, like, the deliveries were pretty good. But we just don't get on the end of any of them. Now, of course, it doesn't help the fact that we take one tall player out of our team by playing Sterling and Pulisic up front. And West Ham, obviously, in general, a tall team and a strong team at set pieces in general. But still, we had so many corners and we weren't dangerous even once, really. So that is a problem. But yeah, I still think we need, like, if people fully judge Koulibaly already, you're being silly, personally, because no matter where you come from, coming from a different league to a league that you've never experienced before, will always take a little bit of time until you're at your very best. But considering it is only the start to his time here, other than when he got sent off, that was obviously very silly. But other than that, I still think he's been doing okay, and I'm not I'm not worried at all. I think he will get only better and better as the weeks and games go on, if I'm honest. But let's get to Thiago Silva. In the end, getting himself an assist for the equaliser for Ben Chilwell. What a guy. What a guy. Now, obviously, should have had Antonio sent off for putting Thiago Silva in an arm lock. The one occasion when he played Antonio just offside, as he literally stopped himself in the middle of a sprint just to play him offside. Amazing. I would say Fofana will get to with his corner clearance, but I would say overall Koulibaly and Silva were defensively pretty similar, but Thiago Silva added an assist to it and maybe was a tad better, hence why I'm going to say 8. Would you agree with the 8, or where would you go?
I want to go like 8.5, 9-ish for Thiago Silva.
Okay.
I watch this guy, bro, and I fall in love every time. I run out of words to describe him. Last season when we was doing so many match reviews, bro, how many times did I just say this about Silva, that about Silva? I've done it on Twitter. I have no words left for this guy. But he's that guy, especially with not Jorginho on today. He was that guy who was getting the ball, he was switching the ball, he was progressing it. Like, he's so important to Chelsea. He is the heart of this team. I love him so much, and that assist is ridiculous. Great pass. Nobody attempts that either. How many players in our team even attempt that pass? And he gets it spot on. And I want to give it 8.5. I think he was fantastic. No, I'll give him a 9. I won't give him a 9. It's my boy Thiago.
Fair play. I think I missed the super chat, so I'm just trying to find it so I can actually highlight it. There it is. Indefinite. Appreciate it. And I'm very sorry that I haven't highlighted yet. Obviously, we've discussed it already, but I appreciate the donation regardless. What about Antonio's foul on Thiago? No red. Yeah, like we discussed already. Can certainly be a straight red, but even if it's not a straight red, it's most definitely a second yellow, and he was already booked, so he should have most certainly been sent off. So all the waffle that David Moyes has given it after the game, calling the decision to rule out the goal scandalous and all sorts of things. Shut up. Do you know what I mean? Shut up. But anyways, you said 9, I said 8, so 8.5, it shall be. Fofana, his debut. Now, my favourite thing he did today was, number one, when he was involved in that build-up, all of a sudden basically at the edge of the box, which led to Ruben being in the box, when Ruben unfortunately didn't do quite enough with it. And also a tackle that he had when West Ham were trying to hit on transition, and he just stopped it, and we had another attack. But obviously that clearance for that corner, and then him being one of the people that stood in Mendy's way, not perfect. But there was still a lot of things I saw from him that I was very, very happy about. What did you make of his performance? I know what you rated, bro.
At one point, I thought he was going to do a Chalobah, bro, and score from, the similar angle he did on his debut at Stamford Bridge. I thought he had a very solid game. I don't think he was as good as Silva, but I thought he was really solid. And I like him. He just slotted right in. You wouldn't believe he just got here. He looked like he's played for the team for a while. Really solid performance.
Would you go as high as Koulibaly, or because of the clearance, which was an unnecessary corner to give away, and they eventually scored from those corners, are you going to deduct any points for that?
I'll deduct 0.5, but I feel like
okay,
up the pitch, he was winning the ball a bit more than Koulibaly was. And that one slide tackle, I can't remember when it was. It's quite late, but that was fantastic. Yeah. That got me off my seat. So really I'll probably give him a 7 as well.
I might go 6.5 if I'm honest, which puts us into a position, ladies and gentlemen, where we need your help. So I will put a poll in the chat to let you decide between a 6.5 and a 7. Now, I could let you decide between more different things, but I would just give you the option between those two, because otherwise I still don't know what to really put in the on screen, do I? So let me just get that going. And in the meantime, we'll move on to the wingbacks. Let's do Reece James first, actually. Now, obviously, got very lucky that Bowen in the follow-up fouled Mendy, right? Because that header back could literally would have robbed us of a win, would have robbed us of a comeback, would have robbed us of real momentum. And even though it didn't count, the fact that all this drama is there now is still not as good as if Havertz just scores the winner and then we see the game out. So even though the goal doesn't count, it's still not ideal. But I mean, it's Reece James. Number one, he's going to get a new contract now, making him one of the highest paid players at the club, the highest paid defender in the club's history. And he's getting a 6+ 1 year deal, which I think is fantastic. But obviously, he really badly went to sleep in that moment. But how do you think it affects his rating, Con?
I don't know. It depends how harshly we judge that moment, because if Bowen wasn't, if he just jumped over Mendy there, we'll probably be saying totally different stuff. That was such a bad header back, but he was one of Chelsea's most creative players today, and he's a right wing back.
Although that doesn't mean much today, I will say.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know where to go with Reece on this one. Probably a 7 as well. Is that fair?
That high? I don't know.
Because
yeah.
the only reason that's just because he was the only one like consistently trying to get balls into the box. He was taking on players, like he was at least trying today. Maybe I'm going a bit too high. I'm not really sure of this one, to be honest.
It's a weird one. I mean, if I read through the chat, I've seen a few. Fofana easy 9. That's a bit high, but sure. James 5.5. I'm seeing another 5.5, 4.5. A lot of 5.5s I'm seeing here. So
people thought he was that low.
5. I mean, they're probably just mostly. This probably comes from the header back, which I assume they'd probably go full rating, if not more higher potentially. I mean, there was moments where I was like, while I agree with you, he's the most creative player, as he should be, considering he's basically the best player in terms of any useful positions. There was a few too many times where, in my opinion, he turned around and just passed it back to like Fofana or Ruben or Silva when he could have tried something. But then at the same time, if Reece has the ball in the wide areas and he sees that the box is too crowded to put in a low cross, and he knows for a fact with Sterling and Pulisic being our strikers, a high cross is never going to lead to anything, then I guess he has to turn around. So I will actually agree with a lot of people in the chat. I will personally say 5.5. But if you want to go higher, Con, that's absolutely fair. Would you go 6.5, 7? What are you going for?
Well, actually, no. I think I'm going to knock it down to maybe a 6. Because I just remembered something he did. Do you remember that time Antonio fouled him and he stuck that leg out?
Yeah,
he's very fair. That you're really running a fine line doing something that silly. Really are.
Remember when Heung-min Son got sent off for doing something obviously worse, but along the same lines against Rudiger and got himself sent off?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's kind of along the lines. And I also think that whole squad that they had after kind of ignited kind of West Ham's fire a little bit, because we had them, as much as we didn't do anything, we had them under complete control. And I feel like they started to get, like, the fact that they got riled up a little bit by that made them get stuck in a bit more, made them a bigger problem for us to deal with. So, yeah, I think you make a good point. Now, obviously, if you say 5.5 and I say 6, I'm going to, because I can't do 2 polls at the same time and I need to give the people a bit more time for Fofana. Because a lot of people in the chat said 5.5, I'm going to give them that for now, but maybe later on, if we come back to it, we might do a poll later on, once we have the Fofana thing done. Cucurella then, on the other side, like I touched on earlier, I think could do a little bit more offensively, but I still think in general, I'm very happy with him. The way he gets up and down the pitch, the way he gets stuck in tackles, the way, in my opinion, he got completely ridiculously booked. I mean, maybe you give it as a foul, but he most certainly got enough of the ball to not get booked in that situation. Now, he did swing his second leg, which I don't really understand after he got the ball already. Maybe he wasn't fully aware that he got the ball. Stuck under his other leg, but ridiculous booking in my books. Yeah, weird sentence. But overall, yeah. Now, I do think James was better, but James obviously had the big mistake. So because I would go give Cucurella a 6, which I know is higher than James, and obviously in terms of overall performance, maybe James was better. But Cucurella didn't make a really bad error, which could/should have led to a goal. So that's why I'm still going to give him higher. What about you?
I think 6, yeah. Like you said, offensively, I think he could have done more. But defensively, he was really good. There was a time when they was hitting us on the counter, and I think he was left versus Antonio, and he won the ball very cleanly there. Yeah, that was a clean foul, clean tackle as well. On Paqueta as well. He played the ball. I don't know why he got booked for that, but no, yeah, defensively extremely solid. Defensively a bit meh. So I think 6 is all right. Maybe it's, I don't know. You're a win back in this system. You need to get forward and do things, you know?
Yeah, especially in the 3-5-2 where we have no forward wingers. Do you know what I mean? So then there's a lot of attacking wide emphasis on Cucurella. But do you think that this is an instructional situation that he doesn't get forward enough? Do you think that's him being just a new player at a big club and maybe a little bit hesitant still to potentially leave his position too much and then cost us a goal that way? Or do you think that's just his nature, that he's not going to be that crazy offensive?
It could be a part of all three, to be honest. He definitely doesn't look at full confidence like he was at Brighton. I think there's some truth in he doesn't want to leave his position and leave it exposed. He wants to impress the manager. But I don't think it's so much instruction.
Well, anyway.
Because Tuchel took him off and brought Chilwell on, and he saw what Chilwell was doing. So I don't think it was instruction. So maybe he's just playing within the
instructions. You go, but to be fair, like Thomas Tuchel mentioned it a few times that because obviously Cucurella can also play left centre back, right? He always explained that Chile is more of a proper left wing back than Cucurella is. So him saying that kind of, and us seeing what we're seeing over the last few weeks, and in particular today, kind of just suits into that. So it's just a case of once we're in reasonable attacking form, whether it's in a 4-back or a 3-back, none of us will complain about this. And then he will also not struggle as much to get into those areas. But when obviously we play, number one, quite the system we did today and against the low block, there's obviously a lot of importance for the wing back. So maybe on those occasions, that's just when we need Chilwell to be back to his, perfect fitness. And then in those games, we just don't start Chilwell. But then in other games, we go with Cucurella instead because he has other advantages that Chile doesn't have. But I guess it's not a bad problem to have. Other than that, once Chile is back fit, I probably kind of want both in the team, but I don't want Cucurella at left centre backs. Then I'm going to be like, well, now what? But in general, still not the worst thing in the world to have just both of them, I guess. Let's get to Ruben. Now, got himself booked very early in the first half, after 9 or 10 minutes. I was basically from that second, I was concerned that he was going to get sent off. Now, then there was this elbow into Antonio's face, but it wasn't an elbow. He was clearly sticking his arm out to feel where the guy behind him is, and he just, I'm not going to say Antonio ran into his elbow on purpose. Of course he didn't, but certainly made a meal of it. I never thought there should have been a second yellow, but that was still at the end of the first half. So I personally would have probably taken him off at halftime just to make sure, after what we experienced with Gallagher 2 weeks ago, that we don't have another man sent off. But in the end, he didn't make it quite to the very end, but when did Jorginho come on? 85th or whatever? Very late. He did well. Like, obviously, people will probably say, oh, he did this wrong and that wrong. I'm like, but he was a single 6 today with 2 8s in front of him. Of course, we shifted that in the second half. We'll get to that later. But mainly to start with, he was a single 6, a deep 6. So his job today wasn't to be the creator. His job today was to just have ball retention, win aerials, which he did, win his physical battles, which he did. So I think he did good. Con. Now, we've had our past disagreements about Loftus-Cheek. So that's why before I even say my rating, because I'm obviously well aware that sometimes I might be a little bit biased towards Loftus-Cheek. Although sometimes I'm also like, maybe I'm extra harsh because I don't want to sound biased. So who knows? But did you also think he was good at what he was supposed to do? Or did you think there was a lot of improvement there for him?
I think he was the worst player on the pitch today.
Do you?
No. I just want to see your reaction. Do you know what? Considering it's a player everyone says he's absolutely horrible in, I think he did really well, if I'm being honest. Everybody says, oh, he's horrible at playing his position. But today, I think he did a decent job, He really did do a decent job. Just a few silly fouls, but he got the ball. He progressed it well. He was winning his duels, I think it's maybe 6.5. I think he was better than Cucurella.
To be fair, Fantasy PGA Tour does agree with me. I am apparently extra harsh to counter my bias, maybe. See, yeah, I was thinking similar rating to you, though. I was thinking like 6.5 or 7. Maybe a 7 is a tad high, just because as a team we didn't do enough. And then also the guy that's supposed to control the game needs to be better to get a 7 rating. So maybe I agree with that. Although, I'm a huge fan of Georgie. But when Georgie came on at the very end, that just made everything worse. So I'm like, especially when you compare it to that, does that push Ruben's rating up? Probably not. But the crazy thing is, and I tweeted this before the game, obviously this is due to injuries, not due to fully ability. But so far this season, it almost seems like Ruben is the first midfield name on the team sheet. And then it depends on who else is fit on which position Ruben has to play, because he's played single 6 now, he's played double pivot now, he's played right wing back, and he's played right number 10 in a 4-2-2. Like what other position is he going to play at this point? But fair play to him. He's done okay in all of them. So you know what? I'll agree with your 6.5 rather than making a fuss and pushing to 7. Let's get to Mateo Kovacic. And you know what? I'll hold my hands up. Yesterday I was giving a bit of stick to a few people in the chat. I was saying, no, Kovacic will start. I'm like, how is he going to start? He was supposed to play 20 minutes on Tuesday and played 45 instead. I assumed, and I was clearly wrong, that means he's less likely to now start. Then, which was after the previous stream yesterday, but then late last night, we found out that Tuchel said Kovacic might have and might even still need surgery. And then all of a sudden he starts. I was like, what? Why is he starting? How is he starting? What is this? What is happening? But the Kovacic is not Kovacic at the moment. So I don't know if we just need to leave him out until he's fit or if he should have surgery. But he's not looking like Kovacic at the moment. Like, is he bad? No, because he's still a very good player. But he's not, especially not Kovacic from last season. He's not dribbling, especially forward much. He's not doing any special passes much. His work rate is still there. He's getting stuck in. So there's nothing like, where I'm saying he's bad. He's just not as good as he was last season. And I'm a little bit concerned that is because of the injury. I mean, did you think he was great today? Or did you just think he was... I just think he was supposed to be the creative player in the midfield today. And he wasn't, was he?
I'll be real. Kovacic's performance today weren't great. I love him, but it weren't great. What more can I say to that? I just don't think he was that good, bro. At all. I thought Loftus was a lot better than him.
As do I. Now I have another super chat which I do need to highlight if I ever find it, which we'll get to. But you didn't say a rating for Kova yet, did you?
So we gave Loftus 6.5, right?
Yes.
Maybe Kova 5.5.
You know what? I think that might be fair. I might even go 5. If I'm honest with you, bro. Just because, think about our game. Think about how much we struggle to create, and we know Gallagher isn't exactly a creator. So any sort of midfield creation today would have had to have come from Kovacic, but it didn't come. So, but then again, I don't want to be too harsh because he's clearly not fully fit, in my opinion. So therefore, maybe, I'll give him the 5.5, but if he wasn't injured, I might be talking 5 or even 4.5. But he is injured. So
no, you know what? No, Laurenz, I think we should bump it down to a 5 because I don't think, even with James's silly mistakes, I don't think he was as good as Reece James there at all. It's one of the poorest games I've seen from Cover for a while. And I do emphasize, of course, but that can't really affect what we saw on the pitch in it. Like, we got to be honest to see what we saw in it. Yes.
That's fair, to be honest. That's fair. I will get to indefinite super chat in a second. Someone said we've forgotten Fofana's rating. I have not. The poll is still at the top of the chat, letting you guys decide between 6.5 and 7. So far, the 7 is winning with 70% over the 6.5 with 30%. But we have nearly 200 votes, to be fair. But get your vote in, and then in a few minutes, we will place the final rating on that. But to get to indefinite super chat, before we get to Gallagher's rating, tired of the whining. We need depth, yet people are talking trash to Cucurella and Mendy. Enough players out, managers out campaigns. Stop being toxic. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Now, am I sat here saying maybe Kepa deserves the chance? Yes. But am I sat here saying Mendy is shit and Mendy out? No, I'm not. I'm just trying to be try to do what's best for the club, right? So if I think Mendy's struggling at the moment, give Kepa a chance. That's what I'm thinking. But I completely agree with you. We need to we have so many problems at the moment. I am like that. I'm not sure if you're like that as well, Con. But for me, it's when the team starts to struggle, seriously struggle, I get less and less critical because I'm the team have enough problems right now. They don't need me being critical as well. But when everything's going well, then I'm sometimes get overly critical on minor details because I'm well, everything's going well. So now let's strive for perfection. But now when we're struggling, we're so far off perfection. I'm not going to sit here and try to chase perfection because no one's been perfect at the moment at Chelsea. Not a single player has been perfect, right? So why would I, you know what I mean?
No, I hear what you're saying because when everything's going good, you might be a bit more critical because you want things to carry on being so good. When it gets this bad, you're just relieved that we can pull something out of the bag, And I think we need to, our pre-season was a joke, by the way, how much travelling we had to do in that. Yeah. We came to the season looking so tired. We only got, 4 of our players have started now, I think, that we signed. Have the 4 of them started? Yeah. And Fofana only started today. So still 2 others need to come in. Players who are unhappy starting, etc. Shushs against Southampton, Pulisic today. So, it's going to take a little bit of a while, and I agree with that. Stop being so toxic and so reactionary. We all accepted was in, a transitional sort of phase. You can't be in a transition sort of phase and be one of the best teams still. You can be up there, but you can't be, competing for your Premier Leagues. We all said that we'd be happy with top 4, and I know it looks a bit rough right now, but it's still very early days. Don't jump the gun yet, I guess, innit? So if you're only complaining, bro, you're only doing harm to yourself, innit? How can you enjoy football if you just keep complaining? That's not going to change the fact of the score, is it?
Because I think one important detail to highlight is not complaining doesn't mean don't criticize. We're allowed to criticize. We're fans, even if we weren't fans. People are allowed to criticize things they don't like. That's literally what freedom of speech is, right? You should be we are allowed to criticize, but there's levels to it. And I think certain criticism of Havertz, certain criticism of Mount, certain criticism of Mendy, certain criticism of all sorts of players that we've had so far this season, the criticism just goes over the top for Jorginho as well. It just goes over the top where I'm like, the players know that they're not playing well. The players know that we're struggling. You saw it with Havertz's celebration today. You saw that the players realized this, that something gets to the players. Otherwise, he wouldn't have celebrated like that. And that's why I'm like, we have enough problems as it is. Criticize when you feel like it's necessary to criticize, of course, as we all should. But don't insult them. Don't abuse them. Don't just constantly harp on about it. Criticize and say what you have to say, but don't say it a million times. Don't say it 50 times every day, right? That's pointless. You've said what you had to say. Fair enough. It's done now. You don't need to go on and go on and go on about it.
That's such a good point, bro. That is the best point out of everything you said there. It's once you say it, you don't need to say it another 50 times. We heard what you said the first time. Move on. We got more games. We got more or less 2 games coming up every week now. So just move on. And like you said, it always goes over the top, bro. But I think that's just social media in general, isn't it? Everything's over the top.
Absolutely. We will get to this tweet by Fabrizio Romano. I will open it in just a second because a bit mental. But indefinite, big shout out to you again for the donation. I appreciate it very much. As I change the screen on what we're looking at, so you can actually read the tweet as well, ladies and gentlemen. We have over 400 people here. So if you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. We're on the road to 15. No, not 15. We already hit that. 20,000 subscribers. So get subscribed. Big red subscribe button down below. Just hit that. And I'd appreciate it a lot. Smash the like button as well. Like I say, over 400 people here. So let's get to at least 200 likes. Just one click of a button. Doesn't cost you any money or any time. So just do that. And now let me highlight this tweet from Fabrizio Romano. Now, I'm not sure if you remember, Con, but remember when we were sat here at the end of deadline day and Fabrizio was tweeting that we made a £50 million bid, which was immediately rejected for a player we would never guess. Well, we found out who that player was. Behind the scenes, Chelsea wanted to sign Romeo Lavia on deadline day with £50 million verbal proposal rejected by Southampton. Of course, he's untouchable. Is he? Fair enough. Southampton invested £12 million plus add-ons for Lavia, and Man City have a £40 million buyback clause. Well, he's the Donny that scored the equaliser for Southampton the other day, by the way, if people don't know who we're talking about, which seems a very reactionary decision. It's we just lost to Southampton. We got battered by their midfield, so let's sign their midfield. It seems like a Bayern Munich thing to do. Anytime they play against a good player in the Bundesliga, they signed them. That's what it seems. What is this? What's your reaction to reading that, bro?
Like I said, I think it's a bit reactionary for sure. He did impress me, though. For getting the goal, just around the pitch, he was physical, he was quick, he was hard to beat. So, sample size is everything, isn't it? And just haven't seen enough. It's very reactionary, I guess. Tuchel weren't happy. He weren't happy after Southampton, was he?
It really was. And I would be absolutely lying to you guys if I said I know any more about him than what he did in the Southampton game against us. And even then, when I watch Chelsea games, I try to pay so much attention to Chelsea and what our players do that I don't even often notice what other players do. Like Con said there, you were impressed with him. I couldn't even tell you whether I was impressed with him other than our goal because I paid so much attention to what our players did/didn't do against Southampton that I didn't even really have time or the brain capacity to also pay attention to Lavia, if I'll be perfectly honest with you. But hey, that's what Chelsea did. In the end, we didn't get him. In the end, we got Dennis Zakaria anyway, who hopefully can get involved in some game time in the next few games. I'm not sure if we'll have the work permit by Tuesday, but maybe by next week. Probably not going to start, but maybe he'll be involved in some sort of capacity. But let's get back onto the formation screen because, we need to get through this. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. Even though, of course, because it's only Conor and myself, we're going to be through it quicker than we usually are. But yeah, hey, here it is. Conor Gallagher. Let's talk about him. Obviously was part of the first double substitution that we made in which he was subbed off. But I don't think he was awful. I personally thought he was better than Kovacic, if I'm honest. There was this one tackle that he made when we were hit on the counter and he sprinted the whole way back and then won the ball back at the edge of our own box. I was like, fair play. Especially after what he experienced, obviously, the last home game, when he got himself sent off every time we got, or booked every time we got hit on the break and then in the end got himself sent off. Was decent. His corner deliveries were decent. But in terms of being a creative player, it wasn't it. But I don't like Kovacic. I'm expecting more from Gallagher in a game like today, where the opposition just parked the bus. I'm not really expecting much more than he did. If I'll be perfectly honest, there was no strikers to feed anyway. The only thing maybe he could have done more was make certain runs, but with how slow we passed, even when we made runs, Gallagher made one good run and Ruben decided to not play the ball. Would have been a difficult ball and chances of it coming off probably quite slim. But do we need to take those risks when we struggle to break teams down? Maybe. But I'll give him... I just think it was average. I don't know. Do you think it was just average? I almost want to give him a 6, but it feels a little bit high compared to Reece James. But I just don't have much to criticize for Gallagher. I don't have that much to praise either, hence why I'd end up on a 6. But maybe I'm way off the mark here, Con. What would you think before I put my rating down?
My pet peeve with Gallagher is just how many touches he has to take before releasing the ball. And that's a problem that you said that you didn't really expect much more from him today, and that's an issue in itself,
Yeah.
I'd probably go... I think he was a bit better than Kovacic, but not by much.
Okay.
I think Loftus-Cheek was the best by a long way in that midfield today. I think the other two they were kind of poor. I'd probably match Kovacic's rating, to be honest. I didn't see much difference between the two. It was an improvement for sure from him. His work rate and winning the ball back was good, but this is Chelsea Football Club, Conor. Bro, you've got to be better on the ball. You just have to be, and that's worrying me a little bit.
Okay, fair play. Let's actually, because I would probably give him a 5.5 because I do think it was a tad better than Kovacic. And the Fofana poll was very obvious. We've had over 300 votes of it now. So we'll give Fofana that 7. Let me just put the new poll in the chat and ask you guys what you would rate Conor Gallagher. I will only give you the options between 5 and 5.5, but please place your vote or place your vote in the poll. That's it. In the chat in a second when it will pop up. Because I'd be very intrigued what the people think. Because a lot of people have been very critical of Conor Gallagher. Obviously, a lot of people also, creators, whether it's Pice who's been very critical, whether it's Felix who's been very critical. There's been a lot of people very critical of Conor Gallagher in some cases. So just to make it clear that we didn't just forget, I'll put a question mark for now, and we'll get back to that later once we have enough votes in the poll in the chat. Let's get to the front two then. And now Sterling a little bit less so because at least he had those 2 crosses late in the game. But otherwise, I'd almost be tempted to give them both an NA. I honestly would. Because, I mean, someone said there was no through balls to Pulisic and Sterling today, which is true. But I don't even want to hold that against the midfielders too much because I'm like, against low blocks, you're not going to play through balls. And West Ham had a low block. Sterling and Pulisic didn't exactly regularly make darting runs to break the lines either. But because there wasn't a space, and that's why I don't really want to hold it against them that much. The only thing I criticize Pulisic for, and I think that very much warrants heavy criticism, is that shot that he had. When we had that one chance after Reece James had a great low cross into the 6-yard box, and there was no one there, which pissed me off in the first place. But West Ham cleared it, and it forced the Pulisic inside the box, and he gets a left-foot shot off. And I mean, I swear, a toddler would get more power in a shot than he did there. Like, what was that? Like, you're in the box on a rebound, and you can't get power on the shot. Like, come on, bro. When you compare that, I know Cornet's goal didn't stand in the end, but when you compare that to Cornet's finish for the 2-2, which didn't stand, compare those 2 efforts, and you're like, what? How? Like, how? I know it was his weak foot. I get that. But, I mean, his big fans always say how great his weak foot is as well. So, we're not going to actually give them an ace, but wow, that was difficult. But I struggle because I don't think how do I want to word it? Obviously, they struggled today, but I don't think all of that, or I don't even think most of why they struggled was really on them. So that's why I'm not sure how to rate that. I wouldn't go higher than like a 6. No, nowhere near higher than a 6. But I'm not sure if I should give him like a 4 or a 5 or a 6. Like all of those, in my opinion, could somewhat be reasonably explained. But I'm not sure which one I should go for. How do you see that? Do you think that our 2 forwards were much to blame for not being better? Or do you think it's just the way we tried to play with our attack today just was never going to work, no matter how well they would have played?
What really disappointed me with these 2 is I'd say from anyone in this Chelsea team, these are the 2 who can show individuality at times. and, you know, pull something out of the bag. And they just played a bit within themselves today. Of course, lack of service don't help. And I can't stress this enough. Attacking players playing versus a low block, right? It's always going to be a struggle because there's such little space. And West Ham are so good at playing that low block.
And not everyone is Erling Haaland.
Yeah, exactly. So I do empathise with them a little bit. I just wish they tried to show a little bit more of a bit more individuality about them today. Sterling, to be fair, he cut inside and got 2 really good balls into the box. Pulisic frustrates me, Laurenz. You know why? I really back this guy's talent, but it's this I don't really care attitude on the pitch that I don't like from him. I see it, and it doesn't look like he's trying 100%. And I just wish he would, man. Because I want him to do well here. I really do. Because I've loved this guy for years at this club, bro. I've always backed him. I still will. He annoys the hell out of me, but I always will back him because I believe he's talented enough, right? But please just show some of that individuality that you have in the bag. Show you do care. You might not want to be here, but just show you care about football still, you know? That's what I was a bit upset with them two today. I feel like them two need to be the guys to try to make something happen out of nothing. I know it's a lot to ask, but this is Chelsea Football Club, you know? Sometimes you need your forward to do that. You know, you see other forwards do it all the time for other clubs. I just wish they'd tried it a bit more, but I wouldn't give them as low as a 4. Probably give them 5s. Because the overall game, the passing, the link-up that they was dropping, I don't think that they were terrible or ghosts, but I don't think they were that great either.
Fair enough. Sorry, guys. While I'm looking at my phone, I'm just looking through both of their stats just to basically get a bit more of a grasp of what the stats say as well, alongside our eye test, of course, that we had. Because I basically agree with what Con said. I would probably give them similar ratings. I've seen a few people in the chat that say Pulisic was better or Sterling was better or whatever. Now, Pulisic actually created the most chances of any player. It says he created 2 chances. Now, can I remember any of them? No. If I'll be perfectly honest. But that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. But I can't remember it, if I'm honest.
What chances were those?
I don't know. It just says 2 chances created, but I can't remember them. I have no idea what they are. Yeah, to be fair, 100% pass accuracy, 24 of 24, which is pretty good, you know.
How many of them were like short passes, though?
Yeah, no, of course. But, you know, Sterling only had 27 of 31, so it's 100% versus 87 accuracy, I guess. Fofana was one of them. So when he passed it to Fofana and Fofana shot from 35 yards. And Kovacic was the other chance. He also shot from like 25 yards. Surely that can't be it.
Come on, man. Come on. That's stat pad at its finest.
That's not chances. Like, come on. That's funny. You know what? I think I'll agree with you. I don't want to be too harsh because I think I just don't think what we tried today in terms of attacking system worked. Now, do I think Sterling had then the 2 good crosses late on, which bumped him up? Because I think before that, Sterling might have actually been worse than Pulisic, but then obviously that bumped him back up to the same rating. You said a 5 for both, didn't you, Con?
Yeah, a 5. And for me, a 5's average. I think that's an average performance. So I think that's very fair. I don't think that was better than average today.
No, absolutely. No. I mean, for me, this is even below average. I usually go like 6, maybe 5.5 is average, but 5 to me is below average. Just below average, not a lot, but just. But then again, now that I say that to myself, if 5 is just below average, do I think Pulisic and Sterling were just below average? Maybe I think they were just below average. So maybe we should give them lower than a 5.
See, the reason I don't want to give them low is because I don't know. People always expect Chelsea to play a certain way of football, make it entertaining, right? But if a team like West Ham, who have good midfielders, they have solid defenders, and they have everybody who in that team who will work for 90 minutes, play low block against you, you find it incredibly difficult. I remember them playing Man City, and if they didn't get that pen, I think that game could have ended in a draw. Honestly, it was one of the most boring games I've ever watched in my life. So that's why I'm not holding the team too accountable today, because you can't blame them for how West Ham set up. If it was a Bournemouth playing a low block, I wouldn't be like this against it. But I know how good West Ham are at playing it. So I don't want to be too harsh on them. And that's all I said that there's average, because I just wanted to see a bit more individuality from the 2 up top. But they didn't really show it. So I was like average because they still dropped They tried to link play a little bit. They at least tried a little bit. Yeah. So I don't want to be too harsh because we won today. So
I hear that. Now, actually, Con, let me get your reaction to this comment about Fantasy PGA Tour, because it's an interesting comment. He says, if either Kai or Mount had those performances, they'd get 2s and 3s. Now, maybe not from you, Con, but from our player rating so far this season. I can't say you're wrong. Whether I would have said that, I might have to disagree with you, but Pice, Charlie, Clutch, if he would be here, any of these guys, they might have gone very low for Kai and Mount. Now, two differences here that I would raise. Number one, for those, well, Sterling is different, but especially compared to Pulisic, for Kai, this would have been the 5th, 6th, whatever, average performance in a row. But obviously, people start to get more and more fed up with it a little bit. But also, Kai would have been much more suited, like just his style of player-wise, being a bit taller, being more physical, not just being like this quick, slow, dribbly type player, which Sterling and quick, small, dribbly type player like Sterling and Pulisic are. So Kai would have suited it more. So if Kai played the way Pulisic and Sterling did, I would have been more critical of that because he has a physical attribute that he can deploy in a game that Sterling and Pulisic don't have. So I can't expect them to deploy that. While I can't expect Kai, or I won't expect Kai, to dribble past 3 players, which I maybe would every now and again expect from Sterling and Pulisic, right? So you always have to adjust what you criticize players for by what they're good and what they're bad at a little bit, in my opinion.
I think context is important as well because this is Pulisic's first start, I believe, this season, right? Sterling's playing. They're both, let's be real, kind of playing out of position. None of them are real strikers, you know. And that's why you said about the Kai point. And secondly, we're not talking about Kai Mount. We're talking about Pulisic and Sterling. Why do you have to deflect it onto other players? We're just talking about what we saw today. Maybe we would have gave him 2 or 3s. Maybe we would have gave him 5s as well. We don't know. It didn't happen. So I don't understand the point of that comment. If they played today, they did the same performances in another universe, in an ultimate dimension.
What he's saying is he agrees with the 5. He just thinks we're usually too harsh on Havertz, basically, is what I think and Mount is what I think he's trying to get at, basically. Which I don't fully disagree with him. I do agree that the fan base...
To be fair, Laurenz, bro, we might be, we might not be, but they didn't start today. That's not who we're talking about right now. So who knows? In another world, if they did start today, we might be giving them 2s and 3s. We might be giving them 5s. Who knows? But is there any point really? You know?
Fair. Someone said, but Sterling lost so many balls, Mohamed. I tried to find out how often. I couldn't find it on where I looked. Maybe it will just update more detailed stats a little bit later, but I couldn't see it now. If you have the exact number, please put it in a chat. Maybe that will change my opinion. But AC Milan are absolutely dunking on Inter, which is just making my day even better. With Giroud scoring, Rafael Leao apparently made it 3-1 now with an absolute screamer. Scored the first goal as well, assisted Giroud's goal. So, huge fan of this. Lukaku getting absolutely dunked on. That's my favourite thing in the whole world, so can't lie. What's this? Oh, Lukaku isn't even playing. Where's that mug at? Where's he at? He's injured. Typical fucking twat. Anyway, let's get to our subs. Who was our subs? I probably need to get the game up again to actually know what the subs were in especially
Broja, Chilwell, Mason, Kai, Jorginho.
Absolutely. So it was. We need to finish that Gallagher rating. Oh, was Mount in the second set of subs? Was he?
Yes. Mount came on for Gallagher.
No, actually, the first 2 subs were Broja and Mount, and then the second subs were Havertz and Chilwell.
Yeah.
But regardless, that was Broja. That was Mount. Oh, how's that happened? And game one again. Havertz, of course. Who did Havertz come on for? Kovacic?
Yes.
I guess.
I don't even know. Who did he come from?
Yeah, it says here for Kovacic, but obviously maybe not directly. And then at the very end, Jorginho came on for Ruben. So let's get through those subs, and 2 of which we particularly need to highlight. You know what? 3 of which we need to particularly highlight. But I'll start with Kai Havertz. And I love this celebration. Absolutely loved it. You and me both, Con, we are both huge fans of Kai. I mean, I've got his our Champions League winning shirt with the print at the front. I've got Havertz on the back. And I know people say, oh, he still lives off that Champions League final day. I'm like, well, which is true. Like, people are saying that, and you're not wrong by saying that. But at the same time, he won us the Champions League. Of course he's going to live off that. He won us the Champions League. Like, people are comparing it to, like, well, I don't know, other players anyway, right? But anyway, I'm happy with him that he got that goal today. He looked happy. I'm a bit sad for him that whole VAR drama at the end kind of took away the glory from him a little bit, because it was a good finish. It was a good goal. It was good movement. He had good movement earlier already for one of these Sterling crosses, where he nearly got on the end of it before Fabianski. Obviously, it's a sub-performance, but my guy won us the game. My guy won us the game. And I don't think it was bad. I'm going to give him an 8 with a star, mind you. Of course, it's not a real 8 compared to all the other players. But man, we needed goals, and he was getting it, and he got us that winning goal. I'm so pleased for him. I'm so happy for him. Does that mean I want him to start? No. Who I want to start next game is Armando Broja, but we'll get to him in a minute. But it was just good. Like, I'm just happy. Like, especially when players receive a lot of criticism, no matter whether I like them or not, when they receive a lot of criticism and then they manage to almost shut the haters up a little bit, or just prove people wrong, bounce back from it. I love that for them, because the elevation that must give them and the confidence boost that must give them must be huge. You know how happy Kai Havertz would be going home today compared to usually when he's just depressed. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm just happy for him, if I'm honest. Like, that's first and foremost it. But Con, what about you? Number one, do you think I'm going a bit too high with that 8, even if it's a star?
No, I don't think it's too high at all. He scored the winning goal, and it wasn't an easy finish. There's a lot of people in that box. He hit it with conviction. I think a big criticism of Kai, isn't it, where people say he doesn't hit the ball hard enough. Well, he levered it today into the back of the net. Great finish. And he brought intensity. Did you see that point where he ran all the way back to the fence and he won the ball? Like, he brought it today, and I'd probably give him a 9 as well, to be honest. I just liked his energy when he came on. He was going out left, he was going out right, he was defending, he got the winning goal. He was everywhere. We're doing a star. My star boy.
You know what? Just because I'm happy for Kai today and I'm happy that we won, I'll give it to you.
And that celebration, I hope, because that wasn't at West Ham fans, by the way. No, that was at
Chelsea fan.
Just remember what we are, guys, as well. We're supporters. And what do supporters do? We support. Criticise fair. But he's still our player. So when he's on that pitch, try to emphasise that, but he's still young as well. People forget that he's not going to be a ready-made player at this age. I know we've paid a lot of money for him, but it's not how football works. You see the likes of Haaland and Mbappe, absolute freaks of nature, at burst on the scene at so young, but that's not normal. It's still not, so I'm still backing with Kai. I'm so happy for him today, and that celebration gassed me up, bro. Everybody who was talking crap, just hold that today.
Absolutely. And I mean, Chelsea all the way. Well, we don't score a lot at the moment, do we? So any goal needs to get praised because we don't score that many. So you can't exactly say, if Kai Havertz on a regular basis scored hat-tricks, then no, we probably wouldn't give him an 8 or a 9 for one goal. But Kai's dive, I can't lie, I didn't fully see it. I saw the aftermath of it when it kicked off and he got booked, but I didn't actually see the dive because I was preparing the stream. I do apologize. But let's get to the other match-winning, game-changing substitution, Ben Chilwell. Now, I want to go again back to yesterday and honestly hold my hands up, because I was at yesterday, not slating him. I was just saying, from what I've seen so far, both against Everton and when he came on against Southampton, I was like, he does just not look ready to play Premier League. Like, I honestly believe that. I was like, his timing is off. He doesn't look confident in terms of when he has to turn at pace and stuff. And then he comes on today, and I'm like, what happened between Tuesday and today for you to be this good all of a sudden? I mean, am I fully convinced that he meant to do with his head what he did with his head after Thiago Silva's ball? I'm not convinced he meant that. But the finish, aside from the fact that Fabianski obviously had a stinker, what's he doing coming out like that, but so half-heartedly, right? But that's not my problem. That's his problem. But to even think of trying to, from basically a volley, to hit the ball into the ground, to go underneath Fabianski, and then score from that angle. Fair play, Ben Chilwell. Fair play. And then the assist for the winner as well. Unbelievable. As a sub rating, 10. Doesn't get better than that. You got us the equalizer. You assisted the winner as a wing-back. And I thought you were nowhere near ready. Fair play. You know what? Fair play. Ben Chilwell, I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan. Con, I'm assuming you're going to agree, but how happy were you seeing Chile do those things today?
Bro, like I said to you at the start of the stream, I forgot how good he was. And I apologise, Ben. Like, I still always rated him, don't get me wrong. I just didn't think he would be like that this early on in the season. And I'm giving him 10 without a star. That's my rating today. He came on, and bro, he just ran everything he did it with purpose. Like, I don't know if he better control it with his head there, but the coolness in that finish, man. The coolness in it. And the run itself as well. And then the assist, he put a great ball into the box. Absolutely put it with pace. Kai didn't have to put too much onto it. Like, I love Chilwell, man. 10 for me without a star. Changed the game. Absolute baller, man.
I'm going to have to stick with the star because otherwise people are going to come at me with like, no, he was so good he needs to get no star. You know where that's going to end. Inter got one back. AC Milan, do not bottle this, please. But yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy for him. Do I think he's necessarily ready to start regularly still? Probably not. But if this can be his impact as a sub, oh my days! Do you know what I mean? Like if we can start Cucurella, play him for an hour, we have like our workhorse on the left who's ready and fully fit, and then late on we bring the super offensive wing back on, and Chilwell makes Alonso look like, well, not even that impressive anymore because Chilwell does assisting and scoring. Then I'm like, I'm all over that. I'm all over that. Now, getting back to Conor Gallagher's rating from the poll in the chat, you guys did actually go for the 5, which Conor went for. I would have gone 5.5, but fair enough. It is 59% for the 5, 41% for the 5.5. So we shall give him that 5. Fair enough. And then we get to the other subs. Now, Jorginho, as much as we will have a few things to say, we'll still get an A because I mean, he played like 5 minutes. 10 minutes, but 5 minutes of that was took for VAR, right? So, before I get to Mount, because I don't really know what there is to say about him today, I want to get to Armando Broja. Now, did he score? No. But did he look good again? And what I love most about him is his enthusiasm is maybe the right word, or just his hunger, his will to get to every ball. Like there was one occasion when he just somehow got his leg in there. Obviously, Fabianski caught it in the end anyway, but he gets his leg in there, and he's a tall guy, right? I don't know exactly how tall he is, probably 6'1", I would guess, maybe 6'2". He's a tall guy. The guy's got lightning pace in acceleration. Like I've not seen him sprint long distances enough yet to really judge that. But for a guy of his height, he has unbelievable acceleration. I'm a huge fan. Huge fan. I personally think he absolutely has to start on Tuesday. Now, do I understand if Tuchel puts Havertz back in after he got the winner today? I understand it, yes. But if it was up to me, I would still start Broja on Tuesday. Now, would it be harsh to start away at Zagreb, your first ever start for Chelsea? Doesn't get much more difficult in terms of away atmosphere. But, you know, he's a Balkan boy himself, so maybe he will thrive from it, potentially. What rating will I give him? I will give him a 7 with a star, not because maybe I could even go higher, but I still think he did good. He just didn't really get enough balls to do much more than what he did. But I think what he did was good. I have no complaints. I'm a huge fan of him. They signed a new 6-year contract yesterday. Huge fan. If you guys haven't, by the way, go to Chelsea's YouTube channel. I'm not sure if they've uploaded it on other socials, but go to Chelsea's YouTube channel and watch the full video with Armando Broja for his contract extension. It's like a 2 and a bit minute video. And the way he talks about Chelsea is like at least Mount and Sterling levels, the way he is like wants this club and wants to be successful at this club, and I love it. I absolutely adore it. And then because he's one that actually portrays on the pitch, and that's what he said in that little interview as well, in that little video. He's like, all I want to do is just give everything for the club every time I can. And I'm like, you might not quite be good enough to be our regular starting striker for years to come. Maybe he's not. Maybe he surprised me and he is. But maybe he's not quite that. But someone that even if they don't always have, and Mount is that to some extent. Mount has his days where he's not quality-wise the best player. But Mount will 99% of the time get stuck in. And you won't see Mount not run back in a late situation. And you won't see those things with Broja, and I'm a huge fan. People say, Cobham boys. But this is why a lot of Chelsea fans love Cobham boys, because as a player that didn't grow up at Chelsea, you're never going to have that kind of affiliation. And how would you? That's not something to hold against the other players. That's something to hold for these players that come from our club. And I think sometimes people forget this, this is my biggest pet peeve about Chelsea fans over the last, since Lampard has been here, really, that it's almost created fans of our youth players and fans of not fans of the youth players. I'm like, how is anyone a Chelsea fan and isn't hugely supportive of our youth players? I don't understand how that is possible. Now, you can say they're maybe not good enough. Fair enough, some of them. But what I can never understand is how people can't be fans of them. Because I'm like, they probably love this club more than you do. Maybe the same as you do, the same as us do. Like, no less, for sure. And isn't that what we want? Like, of course, we want them to be good as well. But it's the middle of the season. The players aren't at fault for Tuchel picking or not picking them. They're just there to try everything they can. It isn't always good enough, but they're trying. And how many times do we see other players not try? And you're not going to get that with the youth players. Like even Reece James, like after when obviously the goal went in, you saw that he had his head in his hands where he's like, I fucked it. And like, of course, other players will be disappointed with giving goals away as well. I'm not trying to say that it only won, but you're never as guaranteed with that they're going to give everything they have for the club as with youth players. Like, understandably so, right? Surely, I never understand this. Con, you still here?
Oh, sorry. I was waiting for you to finish a little rant there.
Oh,
no, I agree, man. I agree. No, yeah, I agree because, like, the reason why I think I love Aspi so much, right, is because he embodies Chelsea. You know, he loves Chelsea. He's a proper Chelsea. He will die on that pitch.
You mentioned that, but with Aspi didn't come from day one. Aspi needed to be here for years to develop that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Otherwise, a 21-year-old can never have that because a 21-year-old, other than if he comes from our youth, he can't have been here for 10 years yet. Do you know what I mean?
And that's what I'm saying as well. Like that's probably why I think I love Aspi so much. So when I see a player and they love Chelsea, they want to be here. This is the club for them. They will do everything in their power to try to do well on that football pitch. You know, how can you not like that? Just how can you not like that? You know, I don't get it. And to see how Broja, because I watched a bit of that video from Broja, how he spoke about it, I was like, yeah, I like this kid a lot more now. Quality player.
Exactly. Would you agree with my 7 or would you go for something a little bit different?
I go with 7. Got the pre-assist. He's the one who passed it to Chilwell to cross it in.
True. Yeah, good wing play as well.
Do you know? I might get cooked for saying this, right? But do you know when Broja first gets the ball and he bursts with that pace and power? It reminds me a little bit of Haaland, where he's just so powerful, so quick off the mark.
He is powerful, to be fair. He's not quite as huge in stature, but I see what you're saying, yeah?
He's like so powerful and quick off the marks. Like, it gives me a Haaland vibe. So obviously not comparing the two, but it's just something that reminds me. Every time I see him off the mark, I'm like, wow. And I really hope he does get a start next game because I want to see him for 90 minutes. Absolutely.
Well, even if it's not 90, at least 60 or 70, do you know what I mean? Would be something to start with. Okay, Mason Mount then. I don't really remember him doing that much. I remember one bad cross, which was mostly because Reece's ball to him wasn't good, which is why he had to lean back while crossing, which is why it was a bad cross. But I don't even remember him doing anything other than that. So, and he was in the set of first subs, wasn't he? We just looked at that earlier. So he came on in the 60th minute. So you played half an hour. Now, with that said, even as a sub, I'm probably going to have to give him a 5 like Kovacic and Gallagher because was he any better than them? No. So why would I give him any higher rating than them? Or did you think he was better than them?
He tried things. They just didn't come off, did they? Let's be real.
No.
Nah, I'd give him 5 as well. And I don't want to be too harsh because he'd come off the bench, but yeah.
What formation did we even play at the end when we had Sterling, Broja, Havertz, and Mount on the pitch? Did we shift it to? Surely we didn't play this, and it was Ruben or Jorginho alone in midfield. Surely not, right?
To be fair, bro, at that point,
maybe it was like this, you know. Now that I think about it,
maybe, yeah.
I think it might be this, you know. I'm gonna hazard my guess that it was this. Fair enough. If you're in agreement with the 5 for Mount, let's leave it at that. I'll check in a second what the chat thinks. Jorginho, we're going to give him an N8, but not exactly a great cameo at the very end, losing the ball, which was not directly, it wasn't his fault, the goal we conceded, but still not exactly fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, NA's fair. I don't think he would even come on today if Loftus wasn't as tired as he was. I'm surprised Loftus even made this game, to be fair. How long he played as well.
He apparently did his hamstring on Tuesday and played, 85 minutes today? How's that?
And played well as well. So yeah. I generally think because he really didn't want to play Loftus for them last 5 minutes. So he just brought on Georgie. I don't think it was a tactical thing at all. I just think he was saving Loftus. And it's mad to think you're bringing on a senior midfielder to protect someone like Loftus, who last season
was also booked, by the way, which maybe that was also partly part of the decision. I don't know.
So like you're bringing on your senior midfielder to protect a guy over a year ago you said wasn't even part of your midfield. So that just shows you how much Loftus has impressed Tuchel of late. So credit to
I
him.
will tell you now, and I have no problem with Dennis Zakaria, but I guarantee that Ruben will play more than Dennis Zakaria for the rest of the season. Like people were all of some out. Like I say, some people, especially in this chat, probably because I'm a big fan of him. That's why I have to be extra harsh on him. That's just how people think, unfortunately. They're like, "Oh, Ruben's not good enough. Get him out." I'm like, boys, he's been our best player this season. Like, maybe Thiago Silva, but outside of Thiago Silva, he's been our best player this season. I mean, Sterling's obviously got some goals, but he's also missed a lot of chances. And who else was good? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we can just give it to Loftus because using Thiago Silva ain't fair. This guy just don't have bad games. So unless it's West Brom, But no, I don't understand the hate for Loftus. And I hope if Zakaria does come in and we do play a back four a bit more, I'd like to see Loftus as an 8. I really would, with the license where defensively you don't have to do as much. And you have that license just to get forward, use that power, because he looks confident again. And he's realised when to pass and when to dribble. Like Kovacic, I think Tuchel's getting that out of him where when he needs to pass to progress it, he will. When he needs to dribble, he will.
But
just at the final third.
The opposite effect has happened where he's now sometimes a bit too hesitant when he could dribble. Because both of them, but Ruben also, they're so good at dribbling that they could sometimes risk it more than players that are not as good, obviously. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes I think he's almost a bit too hesitant still on some occasions today. And by the way, someone said Ruben is still average, to be honest. Average in the grand scheme of things, an average footballer at the Chelsea level, sure. I agree with that. Is he ever going to be Chelsea's best player? No. Should he ever be the first name on our team sheet, full stop, when everybody's fit? Probably not. But you can't hold it against him how much the kid tries and how much he's got, how much he's stuck by. Do you know what I mean?
I don't get that, Laurenz. He outperformed anyone in that midfield today, and then someone's coming with the energy with, he's average. Give the guy his flowers today. He was the best midfielder. And how many played today? Gallagher, Mount, Kovacic, Jorginho, and Loftus was the best out of all of them today. So to give negative 5 today, I don't get it, man. Allow it.
I don't get it either. Now, we have another super chat here by Richard, which from Con will probably get a similar response to earlier, where you're like, well, Mount didn't play that game today in that position, so why are you saying that? But the problem partly with what you're saying there, Richard, is Pulisic was almost the 2 strikers. So 24 out of 24, especially 99%, if not all of them, being 5-yard passes to a behind him standing teammate. 2 out of 2 duels won is good. Yeah, that's good. 1 out of 3 on dribbles, that's not good. Create 2 chances. Now, we've come to the conclusion that those chances are shots from 30 yards, which, unless we are wrong on this, I've only gone by the chat because I just can't remember the ones he assisted, right? But I disagree with you, Richard, that Mount would get a 7 for this. If Pulisic did this as playing as a number 10, it's a different situation. Then creating 2 chances, having 24 out of 24 passes. But he was a striker today. And again, that's why we're still giving him a 5, because eye test, you could even give them a 0. You could give them an 8 because you didn't even notice Pulisic and Sterling for most of the game, if we're being totally honest, right? But he was still good or still decent. And that's why we were not critical in the sense that, well, at least I said, I don't think all of their problems today is their fault. I just don't think Pulisic and Sterling should be a combination to play up front together. I think that's the problem in the first place. But
I don't get you're furious sometimes, Lawrence, because they said one person said to you if it was Mount and Kai you'd give 2s and 3s, and now someone else is saying if it was Mount you'd give a 7. Do you guys want to make up your mind? Is he going to give Mount a 7? Is he going to give him a 3? I'm so. And like I said before, it's as simple as that. Cool. We might have gave Mount a 7, depending on the game, depending on what we watched. But we might have gave him a 2.
There, though, is Fantasy PGA Tour is more of a fan of Mount than Havertz. Richard is more of a fan of Pulisic, and that's where you see how it spreads. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, bro. Sometimes I question people's priorities when you support a football club. Cool, we all have our favourite players, but we're talking quite objectively here. I think we've been pretty fair. Like I said, a 5 to me is an average rating. I think it was an average performance. These little stats here, I'm sorry, they don't really mean anything to me. I'm just judging by my eyes. If you want to go by stats, people will have... Jorginho would have been the player of the match against Southampton if we went by stats. Most tackles on the pitch, most interceptions. Was he the best player on the pitch? No. But, yeah, hypotheticals, what ifs, if it was this player, that player. Well, we're not talking about that player or this player. We're talking about the one who actually played, you know? Sorry, I don't mean to be a bit rude.
No, I hear you. And like, I appreciate you as always, Richard, with the donations. I don't fully agree that Mount would have gotten a 7 for this, especially at the moment where, if anything, people are on his back at least as much, if not more, than they are on Pulisic's. So, if anything, at the moment, I disagree with that. Maybe I would have even if Mount played striker, I would have questioned everything. If he did have the same performance, maybe I would have even given him less, because I expect more from Mount than I expect from Pulisic. So, if anything, I'm harsher on Mount than I am on Pulisic. I'll be honest with you, Richard. I'm sorry if you disagree with this, but I honestly think that there's still a lot of criticism for Loftus-Cheek chat. We lack better options. Well, see, we thought that last season we signed so. Turns out Ruben was the much better option. Turns out Ruben all of a sudden is way less injured than Kante and Kovacic. Meaning Ruben, whether you like it or not, and you're just going to have to fucking deal with it, because it's going to happen. You know, imagine that Messi meme when Messi was about 19 years old with his old sunglasses. Ruben will play more than Kovacic, Kante, and Zakaria this season. I guarantee it. More than Kante and Kovacic, because they'll be injured too much. Unless Ruben picks up a big injury, of course, then I might be wrong. Yeah, okay, you will probably hold it against me at the end of the season. Chances are. And Zakaria, just because I'm not, like, even Tuchel doesn't seem sure what to do with him. He says he can play centre-back, all his midfield positions, and wing-back. Does that mean, but will he be a better utility player than Ruben, who knows the team, the system, and the league? I doubt it. So if they're both utility players, I think Ruben's going to get used more as a utility player than Zakaria. Unless he, like, obviously, if Zakaria turns out to be really good and wins that starting DM spot for himself, then things could be very different. But if he's used as a utility player, which it sounded like in the press conference, then I think Ruben will play more.
I just don't get that comment at all. Like, there's better options. Well, if there's better options, why aren't they playing right now and performing? That Ruben, I'll say it again, was the best midfielder on the pitch. Played it as an 8 at points. He played as the 6. Like, he played well today. What's the need for that comment? Just give the guy his flowers. If you want to be objective and talk about, the squad, why don't do it tomorrow? For now, give the guy who was our best midfielder today some praise. Is it that hard? Don't get it, man. I don't.
I don't get it either. Now, Indefinite says here, Zakaria in for J5. If Zakaria can genuinely do that, which I'm not convinced about yet, then maybe that is a shout. But I'm not convinced that he will have the discipline to play the proper 6. That's the only thing I'm questioning. I'm not questioning whether he can run. I'm not sure how good. I'll have to judge his passing in the Prem when he has less time than in Germany and in Italy to pick a pass. I'll have to judge that when I see it. But I'm not sold. I'm not sold on him being a proper sitter. I'm not sold on that. But I could very well be wrong. Absolutely. Now I agree with this. He never takes his chances early. I agree with this, which is a problem which he needs to work on if he's going to play in more attacking positions. But it's also, in my opinion, partly happening more and more compared to when he was in 2019, our second best player behind Eden Hazard. This problem is happening more and more because he's playing as a 6, he's playing as a wing-back so often that you have to change your own instincts, because as an attacker, you just react differently to how you need to as a 6 or as a wing-back. Think about the games last season when he first started playing as a 6. And people even can't remember Watford was absolutely slating him on his back because that's the attacking instinct. And he had to turn it off because he was struggling with it, like in that Watford game. And he had to turn that off. So, of course, that will have other disadvantages in other situations, but it makes him a better situation as a 6, right? So he's still not the best 6, not by any means, but it still makes him better there while probably making him worse in front of goal, for example. But it's not. I agree with you, actually, J Cam. That is a problem. He needs to take chances out. Even when he was in the box today, where he thought he would get fouled, then left his leg, tried to pass anywhere while falling, but passed it to the opponent, is obviously a little bit difficult. By the way, Con, in case you didn't know, Haaland scored again. He's already got double figures. Fantastic. So Haaland now in 6 Premier League games has as many goals as Timo Werner does in 56 Premier League games.
Bro, I'm so annoyed because I was watching that game, right? And then it was so boring, so I put on the Inter and Milan game, BT. And then Inter scored, I was like, oh, great. And now I missed the goal in that game after watching like a full 45 minutes of boring football. I can't be bothered.
Fair enough. All right, boys. I think we're going to round this one out very soon. Oh, no. Thomas Tuchel. You told me I forgot again. You know what I'm going to do with Mendy down here? because Thomas Tuchel backed Mendy. He's like, oh, he's unlucky. He's not struggling in training. I'm like, yeah, this is training. But anyway, what rating would you give Thomas Tuchel today, Con? Before I go on my little monologue again, I feel like I'm keeping you out too much. I apologize.
I'd give him a 9 today, to be honest.
Ooh, okay, we're gonna have a lovely chat now.
And the reason I say that is because I saw the lineup, right? And as fans, we asked for Mount and Kai to be dropped, right? He did that today.
Yeah,
maybe not for Broja. I get that. So, okay, I'll give it 8. Okay, I'm talking myself down here. So maybe it should have been for Broja, Fairs. But the decision to start with Loftus-Cheek today and Kovar and dropping J5, I think that was a good one. I think J5 needs to be benched as well. I don't think he's been playing too great. The subs today were fantastic. 3 of the people we brought on were involved in goals. Absolutely. And the only time we looked vulnerable was from our own mistakes. It wasn't a system thing, it was mistakes, and
maybe we should criticize Tuchel for not letting Anthony Barry go to wherever he was supposed to go last season.
Everton. Was it Everton that he wanted to go to Lampard, I think?
Maybe it was, now that I think about it.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe that's what we should criticize. See, I see even everything your words I agree with. Just the rating I do not agree with, because I just don't see the logic why you would ever play Pulisic and Sterling as a front two against a low block. I just think that as a whole tactical idea is a right stinker. Like, I'm sorry. How are you going to play 2 5'7" strikers against a low block, which is going to force you to cross the ball? Like, how can that possibly work? Do you see what I mean with that, Con? And he fixed it with the subs, which is great. So that's why I'm not going super low. But I was going to give him like 5. Just because I'm like, I think the initial tactical plan was just a real stinker. And I think the initial tactical plan has a bigger weight in my rating for him than the subs, because the subs, well, obviously in hindsight, he's realized, oh shit, I had a stinker with the initial plan. Let me change it. That's easy. He's like, okay, the 2 small strikers don't work. Let me bring the tall striker on. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I'm not sure.
I hear what you're saying, bro. But for me, in football, reactions are one of the biggest things for me. I guess this is how you judge, right? And we probably all judge this a bit different.
But don't you think
for me, reactions are the most...
always go on reactions. You can sometimes be too late. So that's why it's really important.
No, of course. I'm not saying it's the most important thing, but I'm saying reactions to me are very important in general. And he realized that what he did today wasn't perfect. He fixed that. He did it early as well. He didn't leave it until like the 80th minute or 75th minute. He brought on players in the 60th minute for a change.
Could have been a bit earlier. Could have been 50-50.
It could have been, for sure, but he did it quite early. And the subs he brought on today were really effective. I'm a massive Tuchel fanboy, bro, so it's hard for me. I'm always going to give him a high rating if we win. That's just how I am. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's why we sit here. And I think it's important for people to realize. See, me and Con disagree on our rating for Tuchel. Doesn't mean we hate each other. See, you can disagree with people without hating them. It's okay to disagree on football. It's okay, right? It's important to understand that. For everyone watching, you can disagree. You don't have to hate each other for it. All right, you said 8. I'll say 5. Now, what's half of that?
5?
What? Between
Did
5
you say 5?
and 8.
Oh, wait. You said you would have gave a 5 if it weren't for the subs.
I am giving him a 5. But obviously, we won't end up on a 5 because you give him an 8.
But don't you think he deserves extra points because how vulnerable we looked versus Leicester and Southampton? That today they basically had no chances, barring set pieces, which is his job to coach. It's Anthony Barry's.
While yes, I agree with that. I think that came rather than number one, he came to such a sacrifice of our attacking that I'm like, was that necessary? Number 2, I think part of it is just purely for Fofana being in the team, purely for compared to Southampton where Reece James was ill, Reece James being back in the team. I think that's just the biggest difference, right? And wasn't against Leicester, Koulibaly was suspended. So we were always missing one of these players when we were struggling defensively. I'm like, okay, now of course that we have this back 5. Look at it. Look at the players in this back 5. How can we possibly be bad defensively? Do you know what I mean? No matter what we do.
I hear that. And I don't know. I get what you're saying, but for me, when especially a side like an Atletico Madrid or West Ham, someone like that sets up a low block. These teams, I watch them fairly often. They're just so hard to break down. And as much, yes, it's up to us to break them down. Like, I don't judge us. As long as we win the game, I don't judge us too harshly. As long as we get the game won. Really, it's... Haaland almost scored again. Yeah, it's just... I don't know, man. Maybe a 6.57. Maybe a 7. Because I haven't been on here for a long time, and you love me.
No. It's fair. You go for the 8, I'll go for the 5. It's no problem. We end up on a 6.5. You know, it's fair. It's no issue. Absolutely no problem from my end. But I do agree with the Anthony Barry thing. I was talking about this the other week when we were also struggling from set pieces. I'm like, how is this the case? We can't score from our own set pieces other than Koulibaly's wonder volley against Spurs. But again, I said it at the time already. That wasn't us being great at corners. That was just Spurs being really shit at defending corners. To give Koulibaly 5 yards of space at a corner. How does that even happen defensively? Like, Conte would have been fuming with that. And whenever we concede a set piece against us, not in terms of concede a goal, but just have a set piece taken against us, like, my heart is in my mouth because I can't trust us to not bottle it from set pieces. And we did that.
Have you noticed what teams are doing it against us as well? They're proper drilling it towards the keeper in that area. They crowd that area and they drill it there. And bro, every time we have a set piece against us, I'm scared. I'm scared.
Bro, who's that? Douglas Luiz, is it? The DM that Arsenal tried to sign on deadline day?
Yeah.
I guarantee he's going to score a direct corner against Mendy when we play together this season. Absolute guarantee. There's no doubt in my mind that he will do that. Unless Kepa plays, but then he will also score it because Kepa's too short. So
stick a fiver on it, mate.
I probably should. It's probably got great odds. But I think, ladies and gentlemen, it's about time we end this stream. Let me just quickly get this the lineup off the screen. And then we're going to finish this one off. At the end of the day, Con, it wasn't pretty. That's why there wasn't so many high ratings today. And I said this at the very beginning, beggars can't be choosers. We're struggling at the moment. So any win we can get, any win that can help us build some confidence is good. Now, of course, we said the same thing after Leicester, and then we threw it all away against Southampton. But you always have to start new, right? So now after Southampton, we got a win. Now we have to build on that with another win on Tuesday, ideally, against Zagreb, and then another win against Fulham, which will be difficult enough. Number one, we're always bad at early kickoffs, especially away game early kickoffs, even though, I mean, is it really away at Fulham? But in terms of crowd, but in terms of distance, right, it's the same thing. But Fulham are also good, right? So it will be difficult enough. So let's just try to build momentum, build confidence, because our players and our manager aren't as bad as we're looking right now. None of them are. And what do we need to change that? Confidence, momentum. All of those things will change. And then once we get into a better season, in that time period, Fofana will settle in more, Koulibaly will settle in more, then we'll get Aubameyang, then we'll get Zakaria. And we will just slowly but surely push up. And we'll hopefully be okay and get top 4 at the end at least. But I also want a trophy. We didn't win a trophy last year. I mean, I know we won Super Cup and Club World Cup, but that in my head kind of counts the last season because that's when we... Well, at the same time, you qualify for the Champions League the season before. The Champions League doesn't count the last season. So I guess we won trophies. But I want a domestic trophy or a big European trophy. One of them. I want a trophy. And no more losing finals on penalties. Like, no, leave me alone. So top 4, win the trophy. That's the job. Boys, get it done. Broja, please start on Tuesday. But yeah, please, ladies and gentlemen, do follow Con on Twitter. Link is down in the description. Con, do you have any other things that you want people to follow you on? Or is it mainly Twitter?
It's just Twitter, bro, these days. I'm a bit too much of a party boy these days to do anything else.
We're still kind of waiting for that YouTube channel of yours, bro. I feel like we've kind of been promised that for the last 2 years and it's not here yet.
Yeah, all in good time, bro. Good things come to those who wait.
No stress. Don't steal my viewers, bro.
No, I'm scared. I'm scared, bro. Just in case I make a channel, then Minerals FC comes for me, so I'm scared of it.
You could get him on your channel though. Imagine the views.
Do you know what? As controversial as he is, I watch him. He cracks me up. Honestly, I
was thinking about getting him on, but I was like, if he triggers me and I can't hold my cool, which I usually can, as you know, Con. But if I can't, then I don't like that. I don't like losing my shit if I don't have to.
Bro, please.
At Chelsea, no problem, but at people, I don't like it. Do you know what I mean?
Bro, please, if you get him on the stream. The last time I saw you lose your cool over Lukaku, I was on mute crying. I need to see you and Johnny losing it just on stream, and I'll be there just laughing in the background. But I don't even need to talk. I'm just there.
Maybe I need to think of. Maybe you are the best third person. I need to think of a third person to kind of keep control.
Get pies, bro. Make it a free for all.
That's why I'm concerned if I don't control it.
Bro, please get pies as well. It'd be a free for all. You three would just be losing your stuff.
Oh, we'd just be shouting at each other. It'd be quite funny to be.
And I'll be there just laughing. Please, bro.
Maybe we need to do that. All right, boys. Please do follow Con. Like he said, mostly Twitter. His Twitter is linked down in the description below, so please follow him. Not that he doesn't have enough followers already, but you can always do with more. So follow him, and for the same reason, subscribe to me. On the road to 20,000 subscribers, chances are most of the 200 that are still here are already subscribed. But if you're not, please do subscribe. Be massively appreciated. Smash the like button as well on the way out. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the chills. Finally a dub. Over the moon. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you next time.